Welcome to this new Addon Spotlight. In this Addon Spotlight we're going to look at the Fokker DR1 Triplane. We're currently located in an airport somewhere in Africa. So let's have a look at the aircraft a little bit closer. The aircraft itself comes with 5 liveries. It has been released a few days ago and already received an update to, I would say, optimize some of the things. You see that the engine, you can almost go inside the engine, right? It looks really nice. That's really modeled nicely, and as well as the propeller. If we go further around, we see that the aircraft has, I would say, 3 wings. It's also why it's probably called a triplane, and everything is functioning as far as I could test. Right, we can move the rudder. I can move the wings and also change the altitude, which is cool. So if we go inside the aircraft, as you would have mentioned, right, it's I would say, I think it's an old war airplane. As you can see, the guns in front of us. There are some meters, right? The airspeed, the RPM, and the altitude, and of course also the oil temperature. Focusing on the number of instruments available or controls available, it's limited, right? It's the battery and the alternator, and it's of course the stick to move the aircraft left or right. The throttle, which is hooked up to the steer. Then we've got the say mechanism to start the engine, and this one I'm not sure. I didn't find out yet where it's used for, but let's see if we're gonna fly, how that will work. So first we're gonna switch on the electrical systems. As you can see, nothing happens after that, and then we're gonna switch on the engine. So you need to turn it like this, and then you will hear directly that the engine starts running. So let's go to the front, and then let's have a look at the engine itself. And you can see that it really is an advanced, because it's also not only the propellers running, but also I would say the inner piece is running, which gives, I'll say, some nice details. So if you would, I'd say, leverage this one, we're simply cutting the view completely. So it looks like this has to do something with the RPM, or maybe even with the view. It could be the view, the richness of the view. Probably that's it. So let's restart the engine again. So this is the key to turn on, or this would be a normal airplane, would be, or a modern airplane, that's a better word, is the key to switch the engine on. So let's see how far we can come with this aircraft. As you can see, the aircraft has multiple views, right? Only this, I would say, external view, there's only one view available, but I do expect that it will change. And the drone view is of course something you can also use, because you can manipulate it yourself. Runway where we're gonna go to is over there. So let's try to see if we can move around with this aircraft. Gonna remove, increase the speed a bit. You can see that it's pretty hard to see where you're driving to, so that's the difficult thing about this aircraft, to be honest. Try to avoid that we're not collapsing to another aircraft. So increase the engine again, or increase the throttle again. And let's see how far we can come with this one. As you can see, it's really hard to figure out where you are with the aircraft, so taxiing could be really a challenge. Probably they will add some new views to the aircraft, which will hopefully make it easier. Now it comes from the ground, so now it's easier, right? Don't go too fast. Don't need to go to the outside again, and you can see it's really a challenge to control this piece. So let's see how we can make it easier. So there's the one runway, there's the other end. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna turn a little bit to the right, and then we're gonna simply take off. So that's at least one of the challenges with the aircraft, right? It's really taking off, you can't see anything. Unless your speed is above 30-40 knots. Then it's, I'd say, kind of stable, but you can see it's, I'd say, kind of wobbling around. We're already airborne. So the other views are working nice, I would say, right? You can look left and right, and you can look in the front, but there's no way to, I would say, increase the height a bit so that you can look over the, let's say, nose of the aircraft. So let's see what the speed of the aircraft. So we're going 100 almost. You can see I also can do some tricks, of course, here. Whoa. That was not a good example. So let's do that again to see what went wrong. So we're gonna start the engines again. Or start the engine again, I should say. See, the taxiing is really a challenge with this one. That probably requires some improvement from my end, but also probably from the aircraft modeling a bit. You can see as soon as the speed increases, right, then the tail of the aircraft goes in the air, like now. And then it becomes easier to do. But we of course don't want to go too fast. One other thing is that you need to take into account that the, I would say, the reaction speed of the throttle and the brakes are a little bit slower than you might expect, right? You can see that it works. Getting far too fast to the corners. Let's see if it's wobbling around again. And then let's try to increase the speed. So based on this, right, it's not... It looks like that the aircraft is not really easy to manage, but hey, it could also be a challenge for you, right? Taxiing is also not very well. Try to increase the altitude a bit. And although there's no trim wheel, right, you can still use the trim wheel on your joystick if you've got it. But it's not, I would say, strictly necessary to do that. You can see that it's not having one. And then we're airborne, right? So we're flying around. Well, as mentioned, we're located somewhere in Africa, close to an island in front of Africa. And then we can just fly around, right? Would it be an aircraft where you could do tricks with? Well, probably the answer should be yes, right? It's a kind of, I would say, a warplane, so normally they can do that. So we can give it a try in a few seconds. You see the max speed later around 90 knots when flying or when climbing slowly. So let's look from the outside and then let's try to use some tricks. It works, right? So as you can see, the aircraft moves slowly. Steering works pretty nice. It's not too hard to steer the aircraft. Of course, it doesn't have an autopilot, right? So that's something you need to take into account. That you need to do everything continuously yourself, including keeping the altitude. So you continuously need to keep an eye on your altitude meter, on your speedometer, to prevent that you're, I would say, decreasing altitude too much, or that you're overspeeding, of course. See that it pushes the aircraft a little bit to the left side, but not an issue. Other things or other things which you might be aware of is that, of course, this aircraft doesn't have any navigation radios, so it can be used primarily for VFR flights, compared to modern aircrafts, which of course have multiple systems on board, which you can use to navigate the airplane and then fly IFR. And here you can really see good that they really modeled it really nicely, right? You can see the engine is rotating. Would look from the top, it's a really nice view, right? This aircraft. The wings, but you can see that as soon as you, I would say, don't pay attention to the controls, the aircraft will start doing its own stuff. So that's really something you need to be aware of. It's not an airplane which you can, I'd say, go to the external view, don't pay any attention, and then assume that the aircraft will go correctly. The other thing is that, as far as I could find out, is that the aircraft doesn't have any flaps. So that limits the ability of, I would say, decreasing the speed when descending, and of course when you're gonna land. So that's also something you need to keep in mind. So you need to make sure that you're decreasing the speed already, I would say, a lot before touching the runway. We're gonna try and do that. So I decrease now almost to 0 power. See that we're slowly going down. We're at almost 1,000 feet. Speed is about 70 knots. We're almost at the 500 feet, right? We're just past the 700 feet. See that we're a little bit above the glide scope according to the PAPI lights. Now we're correct. Don't need to go too slow, of course. So we're going to increase speed again. And the nice thing is that you can use the view between the guns to really center on the runway. Right, there's a nice cross for the say steel wires which are crossing each other. Runway 04. Here we come. It went pretty okay. You can see that if you're turning, I would say, under high speeds, high speed I really mean 40 knots or above, it's kind of hard to taxi, right? It starts to, I would say, balance on one of the wheels. As soon as you're below the 30 feet or 30 knots, sorry, it's, I would say, much better to do. So here ends this quick spotlight add-on. In this spotlight add-on we looked at the Fokker Triplane due to the 3 wings. It's an old, let's say, war aircraft. It flies pretty nice, but there are some challenges like taxiing, like you currently see. So you need to be aware of that. Hope you liked this video. If you liked it, then consider to use the like button. If you've got questions or comments, then feel free to post them in the comment box below the video. And if you want to stay up to date about new videos I'm posting, then consider subscribing to my channel. Thanks for watching and see you next time.